Hey everybody, it's Why We Love Horror, and like we do at the start of every year, we're looking back fondly on the year before, and we all submitted top 10 lists to each other, and we did like a combination. But before we get started, I'm John Maher. That's Abby Brooks and Aaron Brooks. How you guys feeling today on this New Year's Day?
I think we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I think 2024 is like one of the best years of horror in the 20s. Are we calling this the 20s? Is that what we call this? Is it
the roaring 20s?
Yeah, so the flapper era of horror here. I think this is the best year of the 20s for me personally. So I'm really excited to talk about these movies.
Abby?
Yeah, no, there's some really good stuff. There's also some really bad stuff that came out this year too. But we're not going to talk about that much.
We're going to do a separate worst of 2024 episode, I think, for fun, because I could throw up the Aaron rant thing a bunch of times.
Yeah, exactly. You want to hear me yell about movies?
Yeah. This is all about happiness. So we all did 10 movies in like a weighted ranking system. I put them in a spreadsheet because I have autism. And then everything wound up great. I got a top 10, and then there was some residual stuff. So we expanded that out to honorable mentions. So I figured out everybody's honorable mentions. So Abby, we'll start with you, ladies first. Here's your honorable mentions. You could just go through them and talk about them a little bit. These are your 5 honorable mention movies, and just outside of our top 10.
Okay. So the first one is The Soul Eater, which we all talked about very recently, actually. And on that episode, the main thing that I talked about was just how big of a surprise this movie was. Actually, in mostly all of these honorable mentions are probably some of my biggest surprises of the year. Soul Eater, literally probably had heard about it the day before we recorded our episode, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I think that's probably one of the more hidden gems from this year that I think people should check out and should watch, because a lot of the movies that we're going to talk about are pretty well known.
Yeah, shout out to the Film Geek, which is the reason that we even knew The Soul Eater exists on YouTube. Subscribe to the Film Geek. He's awesome.
And then the second one on that list is Strange Darling, which I think when we talked about that one, we all really liked it. That was another surprising movie. Because again, at least for when I watched it, I had seen one trailer. I didn't really know what to think. I thought it was going to be like a basic, like cat and mouse type of movie, but there's a twist to it. And I just like the format of the movie. Again, I'd like to revisit it to see if it hits the same. Watching it a second time, knowing what's coming and how the movie is set up. But that's another movie I think more people should see. Abigail, I think I like that one the most out of the three of us. I don't have a lot to say about that one. I had a really good time with it. I really like Radio Silence. I liked all of the people in this movie. I thought it was just really fun. First Omen, another very surprising movie. I was very worried about this movie because I didn't think that there needed to be a prequel to The Omen, one of the best movies. And I think this is a prequel that was done correctly, whereas there's another movie that came out this year that I think it's what I was afraid The First Omen was going to be. And I think it's on one of our worst lists of the year. But yeah, I think The First Omen, they did everything correctly. And again, it was very surprising. The ending was probably like the most like marvelly, like, oh, come on, part of the movie. But I thought it was creepy. I thought it was gross. I was just very surprised by it. And I think it deserves recognition. And then the last honorable mention is It's What's Inside. Again, there was a bunch of movies that came out in the beginning of October that everybody was kind of talking about, a lot of streaming movies that came out, and this was one of them. I didn't know anything about it. And again, this was just I keep saying it, but it was very surprising. Took a little bit to get used to, but I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. I liked the vibe, the way it was shot, just all of that in this movie. So those are my honorable mentions.
It says Aaron, and we'll go to yours. Just missing our top 10. Aaron has 5 honorable mentions as well. Aaron, go ahead for it. Go for
All right. Unfortunately, I have to join in on the first Omen train. I am sorry, everybody. This movie is great. Nell Tiger Free, I believe, will be a star eventually. I really do. If you haven't watched Servant on Apple TV Plus, I believe on like the 5th and 6th, Apple is open. Watch it during that time because she's great in that as well. And she's amazing in this movie. I think she's the main reason this movie works. The ending is what kept it off my top 10 because it turned into an MCU movie. It's a one-shot drug trip movie. I'm Aaron Brooks, and I am on Why We Love Horror. This movie, great. It's also French. It goes to some crazy spots. I really love the first like segment, you could say, to up until like the car. And yeah, it does change a little bit as it goes. And, you know, but still ends up being a really solid, one of the best Shudder movies of the year. Red Rooms. This is another one of those that it came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, everybody who I could trust was saying, go check this movie out. It's a Michael Haneke movie without all of the brutality in it, yet it's still extremely disturbing. And also extremely pathetic, which where we're at right now with Luigi and the stuff going on. So, you know, predictive entertainment is always the best entertainment. The Soul Eater, I interrupted Abby to say shout out to Film Geek. I forgot it would also be on my honorable mentions. But yeah, that's the reason I found out about this movie. And it's by 2 of our favorite directors. You know, so it's just, I'm not sure how it snuck up on us. I'm not sure why it's not on like HBO Max or somewhere where plenty of people who are looking for that long leg itch can continue to scratch with this movie. And I think moving forward, we're going to see a lot more of these like 90s crime horror procedures coming back, because all of the ones that came out this year that I've watched were good. Strange Darlings, another one, kind of brings you back to the 90s. And then Blackout. This movie I watched for the Why We Love Horror Letterboxd Challenge, which you should be following for this year because it's back. We'll plug it at the end. But Blackout, it was a very low-budget indie werewolf movie starring Alex Hurt, which I did not know that was William Hurt's son until in the middle of the movie, there's a picture of William Hurt, and he's talking about his dad losing his father. There's an alcoholism allegory, which I know is very common with werewolf movies. We're probably going to see that with Wolfman coming up this January. Probably not done as well as this, though. I mean, once you get past it does look a little like a soap opera. And once you get past that and a little bit of the acting that comes with indie horror movies at times, it's got a really deep heart to it, and it's extremely intense at times. And I thought the wolf design was good. So Blackout, it was one that I have not seen a lot of people talking about. And Alex Hurt got his father's talent gene with regards to the acting. William Hurt, one of my favorite actors ever. So Alex Hurt picking up the mantle and having that connection with the loss of the father. I've lost my father, so those movies are always very close to me. And when it's done authentically, and this was. So Blackout is just one that I haven't heard anybody else talking about. I hope people check it out.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too. I gotta catch up. My honorable mentions, kind of like Aaron's, I'm going outside the U.S. for a lot of them. But my first one is squarely in the U.S. It's a movie nobody's talking about. A Most Atrocious Thing is probably the best horror comedy I've seen in a long time. An indie horror comedy. Christian Hurley, Ben Oliphant. There are these 2 guys. I guess they must be like an indie comedy troupe or something. And they put this movie together. And every time I see a movie that's built like this, it's always like a gag reel. Like, look how funny we are. And that is not what this movie is about. Like, they don't like ham it up to the point that you think that you hate them as people. They toe that line very appropriately, and I think this movie deserves more attention. If you could find a copy of A Most Atrocious Thing, I would definitely do it. Secondly, heading over to India for Brahma Yugam. Who directed this movie? Rahul Sadezathian. I've kind of in the last year or so gotten into like all the different Hindi dialect of movies, and sometimes you pick the wrong one, and it's like a Bollywood movie, and then all of a sudden it's like a horror movie, and then it becomes like a ridiculous song and dance. And like, what the fuck is this shit? But I gotta say, there is some music in Brahma Yugam, but it's only because the main, kind of like Calvaire, the main character is a singer who gets stranded in front of like a place where he shouldn't be. So that's, and they're the similarities to Calvaire stops. So there are scenes where the guy sings, but it makes sense. So I could forgive that. Aside from that, really tense black and white supernatural movie. I would check it out. Strange Darling we've covered. I like Strange Darling a lot. I like the kind of like shattered structure of the movie. You will figure out, if you're eagle-eyed like the three of us, you will know exactly what's happening as it's going through, but stick with it because it goes places. I think Strange Darling is worth talking about. One of my favorite movies of the year, though, Thomas Caillet's The Animal Kingdom out of France is incredible. Watch The Animal Kingdom. So much is done. And then the female cop from that is Ennui from Inside Out 2 for you kids. She goes and does a voice role for Pixar after starring in The Animal Kingdom.
This is her better role.
Yeah, this is definitely her better role. Adele Exarchopoulos is in this movie. Check it out. But The Animal Kingdom is a movie about like humans are devolving into animals for some weird reason, and it becomes like an apartheid kind of situation. And it's definitely worth checking out. So check that out.
It's on Hulu.
Finally, it's on Hulu. Yeah, it is on Hulu. And then finally, last but not least, Spanish language movie, The Coffee Table. If you haven't heard about it, I don't know where the hell you've been, because everyone who's seen this movie is like, what the fuck? So why don't you go out there and say what the fuck with everybody else and check out The Coffee Table already?
Yeah.
All right.
Good choices.
That being said, we're going to get right into our top 10, starting with number 10. This movie, Aaron loved it so much. All it took was Aaron's love for it to crack our top 10. Getaway, the Nick Frost vehicle. Aaron, tell us about Getaway. I liked Getaway a lot too. It just didn't make my top 10. So what about Getaway?
So Getaway, this is my best surprise of the year. Hands down. I wasn't even anticipating this movie going in. But Stefan Harz, I believe is how you say his name. And yeah, I really, really like this movie. It starts out as, you just kind of expect it to be Midsommar, but, a little goofy. But the twists and directions it goes with it are so unique and not obvious. And particularly, was it Sebastian Croft who played Sam, one of the vegan kid who was just so annoying. Like he was perfectly casted, but like the whole family was amazing. There's some great lines in it, and just like you were talking about with The Most Atrocious Thing, the comedy is never patting itself on the back and looking for acknowledgement. It is just weaved into the movie, and on top of that, it has excellent gore, excellent effects. Like the main like bad guy is just like so memorable as well. Like this movie, it just like completely took me off guard. I didn't know what I was signing up for, and that ends up like always being my favorite movies. This is one of my 4 or 5-star movies of the year. I give out 5 stars like candy. That's okay. When I love a movie, I go all the way. And this movie, to me, I cannot wait till it makes it on the Shudder in, I believe, is it end of January?
On the 10th, I thought.
On the 10th.
It's sometime in January. Yeah.
Yeah. Check this out as soon as you can on Shudder. It's the best Shudder release I can remember in some time. Nick Frost is great in it. It made me go watch Crazy House and appreciate it afterwards, which is the other movie Nick Frost and Stefan Harz did from this year. But yeah, Getaway, it is so much more than Midsommar, but funny. And the directions it goes, I had no clue. So
I would say they cast all of the villagers like so well. Like you can't help but get like Midsommar vibes or even Wicker Man vibes. Yeah. You get those vibes like, oh fuck, I've seen this movie 1,000 times, but you have not. I guarantee you have not seen this movie because it subverts your expectations. That's one.
And the subversions really do work in a way where it's not like such an. They really do work. I just like this movie. I can't wait to watch it with Abby. It was at 10:30 at night or something. I went to see the movie, and so yeah, I just like I can't hype this movie up enough. So I'm proud to have caused it to make the top 10.
Yeah, and British stand-up comedian Aisling B plays the I don't know if she's really the wife character, I guess, without spoiling too much. And she's great. She hasn't been in a lot of movies because she's always on like television on like Jimmy Carr shows and stuff. Yeah. But she is still just as funny as she is.
And this was written by Nick Frost as well. So like just a lot of like this movie deserves more hype.
Yeah. Moving on to we have our first of many ties on the list. So tied in 8th place. Damian McCarthy's second outing, feature-length outing, Oddity, which I had heard good things about it, like because a lot of people are going to festivals and they're saying Oddity is the best thing at this festival. Oddity is the best thing at this festival. So kind of came in with a lot of expectations for me, but I think from my point of view, it hit everything because like when it hits the highs in the movie, like they're really good, like they're really good scares, really good tone. But I know you guys probably actually like this movie more than I do.
Yeah, I had this movie pretty high up. Like I really love this movie a lot. I I wasn't expecting much from it because I had seen the trailer a couple of times. And then I had seen the director's prior movie, Caveat, which I didn't like. I thought it was super boring, looked good, but I just didn't really think much of it. So that's why I wasn't that excited when we were going to be covering this movie. But when we saw this, I was like very pleasantly surprised. Like, this is probably one of the only movies that we saw in the theater where I had to like cover my face a couple of times because it's just so creepy, and it does the suspense and like the jump scares and all of that just so well. I thought the story was told really well. There's enough twists that like I appreciated the twists in this movie. I think some people predicted the ending a little bit. I don't really care. I really liked it a lot. So like this is one of my favorites of the year. It really is.
Yeah, no, I also really, really like this movie. I had not seen Caveat going in. So, but I did see Caveat after. And I think I ended up liking it more because I could trust the director. And I was just like, okay, like, and just visually, the way he shoots his movies is very effective. It feels like, I don't know, like a slightly older R.L. Stine Goosebumps story. Like, it feels like an adult Goosebumps to me in a lot of ways. And the jump scares are really, really cool in this movie, which is something I can't remember the last time I said because I hate jump scares. And just the use of the camera in this movie, particularly like where there's like something in the background you can see getting a little bit closer, but the camera's not focusing on that. Sort is like that's like why I love so many different found footage movies, because like lack of control you have, it feels like, where you're just like you know, and it's not doing it, and then all of a sudden it's scaring you like as soon as you let your guard down. This is what The Watcher was supposed to be. The Irish horror we deserve is Oddity, the second best Shudder release of the year.
Yeah, I also shout out the production design for Oddity, because the way that house is structured is like absolutely nuts, but it works. I gotta say,
and the Woodman. I mean, just a whole it's great.
Yeah. So that was, I think that was only on Abby's top 10, but ranked high enough to crack our top 10. Only on my top 10, high enough to crack the top 10. Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. I know it made the festival circuit in 2023, but it got its official U.S. release in 2024, so we're counting it. I think this movie is delightful. I don't use this word often. It is like, if you've seen the trailers for it, it is just as like cute as, I can't believe I'm using these words to describe a horror movie, but it is endearing and cute. It is like the comedic version of Let the Right One In, I guess, on some level. So if you watch Let the Right One In and you're like, wow, this movie's real fucking bleak and dark, I wish it was funny, watch Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person and you will get your wish. I think this is a great directorial effort. I think all the characters are great. They layer a lot of great comedic characters in this movie, and it resolves in a way that'll make you love life, or love death and life after death. What do you guys think of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie also. I didn't put it on my list, and I decided to keep it off my list because it was more of a 2023, but I get it was released here in 2024. But yeah, I love this movie. I figured we were going to talk about it anyway. And yeah, like, not every horror movie has to be like super dark and like dour and gross. And I mean, there's some gross moments in this movie, but it really is just like a really lighthearted, like, I guess dark comedy, but it's just it's sweet. I like it a lot. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's like so sweet and endearing, and it also is very, very sincere with kind of talking about loneliness and all of the depressing aspects that go into that. And it has, I think, my favorite dance sequence of the year as well. That just warmed my heart, the dance sequence in this movie. And I love a good dance sequence, so maybe I need to get into more Hindi movies.
Oh, they're in there.
I love a good
or you can watch VHS Beyond. VHS Beyond has your
I won't be doing that anytime soon. Good
All
luck.
right. Speaking of surprises on the list, I'm glad Aaron ranked this movie so high, because it deserves being talked about, because it most certainly fucks. Frogman. Number 7, on the strength of an Aaron Brooks like Hail Mary.
Proud to be a Frogman, where at least I know I'm free. There better be 11 Frogman movies. At minimum, I need a second one, because I don't like a lot when movies assume they're getting a sequel. but this movie builds so much lore, so much just attention to detail with these characters. And I think they're all great. That's the key with a found footage movie. You got to like these unlikable characters, which is a hard line to toe. And this movie fucking nails it. 5 stars, Frogman fucks. Like, period. Like, I had no idea about this at all going in. I love found footage. I love found footage for this reason specifically, because it was just like, it was actually crazy. Like, it was seriously like when things were happening, I'm like, what is going on? And it's kind of scary. Like, when none of us are going to get scared by movies at this point, I understand. But there are scarier aspects to this, which is shocking, because I thought when I put on Frogman, they're going to be like, Frogman. Like, but it's just like, it's really like about this character and how it's consumed his entire life and made him appear crazy to everybody, and indeed turned him crazy. And the design, like, of the Frogman and everything, it's just, I want more. I love this movie so much. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. And I definitely didn't go in expecting to give Frogman 5 stars, like, at all, but it is an unironic 5-star movie for me. And yeah, I love this movie. Please check it out, everybody.
I would agree. Yeah. And Anthony Cousins, the director, is pretty active, like, on social media and stuff. So you could probably even, like, get an audience with him if you tried.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who have actually had conversations with him, and he's a cool dude, all in all. That being said, Abby, your thoughts on Frogman, if you've seen it?
No, I like Frogman a lot. There's a lot of movies that came out this year that were in like the 4-star to like 3.5-star range, and Frogman was in like the 4-star range for me. I liked it a lot. I mean, not as much as Aaron, but I do hope that there's a Frogman too.
There's going
I'm down for that. Speaking of movies Aaron loved, his love was not enough to carry this past being tied for 5th, though. I saw the TV Glow, tied for 5th. We'll save Aaron for last, because like I every day I have a conversation with Aaron about the TV Glow. I saw the TV Glow is important. Like, I'll say that flat out. Like, it's not even like I like the movie. It's like, it's important, and you should watch it, and you should watch it like with a critical eye and really, really pay attention to what they're saying. I think it gets dismissed as like, oh, it's just a movie about people that like, you know, Power Rangers and shit like that. Like, not really. It's so much more than that. There is the nostalgia aspect to it, but yeah, like, I think if you're of a certain age, this movie will hit you differently. Definitely. So please watch I Saw the TV Glow if you haven't already. It's not just a movie that conservatives hate. Abby?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been that vocal. I mean, this was not one of my favorites that came out this year. I do want to revisit it because, again, like I had mentioned in our review of it, I do think it's an important movie. I think there's a lot of layers, a lot of emotional baggage in this movie that will really affect a lot of people. For some reason, it just did not affect me. I didn't feel anything watching this movie. But that doesn't mean that you won't if you watch it. I think it's very well made. I think that this director is doing very great things. I'm curious to see what they do next. I might not like it. I'm not sure if their stuff is going to be my vibe, but I think that this is an important movie because I see it affecting people, and people really love this movie a lot.
Hi, my name's Aaron, and I love this movie. I have not rewatched it. I tried to rewatch it the other night, and I got like 5 minutes in before I was like tearing up. This movie is existential horror. So I'll say that right off the bat, because I've seen some people be like, how is this horror? How is this not horror? This is the most horrific like story as you're watching, if you're paying attention at all, because it's basically, I get that it's been boiled down to just trans identity. I think that is such a disservice to this movie. I think that's really unfair by the audience. Obviously, that audience can absorb a lot of the themes, maybe more, but at the same point, anybody who is not truly living their true life and living a lie and just kind of going through the motions, which is 99% of the population out there, and just like, there's just so many points in the movie that just kind of hit me where I think about myself or I think about others. And this is an important movie. This is like an extremely important movie. I put it on, you know, I think that the people who it's going to reach or it's going to reach, and that's okay if it doesn't reach you. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything like that, because I was sobbing at the end of this movie. I did not know why. And the people who got up, told this story, probably told it on the review. People who got up next to me, it was 2 dudes. They were like, that movie was kind of weird, and got up, put on their coats, and walked past me blubbering. I was crying, and I was like, I didn't even know why. It was just, it was like as close to a psychedelic experience as I can ever remember having with a movie. And it's just like the layers you can watch this movie on. You could view it as the dangers of nostalgia. I think that's like about as surface level as you can get with it. But if that's the level you want to take this at, I still think it's a good movie to watch. And some people get bothered by the dialogue. That never is going to bother me. I'm a Yorgos Lanthimos fan. Like, I'm a M. Night Shyamalan fan. Grow up. Like, seriously, grow up and accept a bold artistic direction with dialogue. It's going to be okay.
Okay.
I'm just, like, if that's what's keeping you from liking this movie, I think that's unfortunate. But I wasn't directed at Abby, but she can take it as directed at her. Anyways, the music in this movie is great as well. I think it's the best soundtrack of the year. I've been listening to the 17-year-old theme like every other day on my YouTube music. You can ask Abby as she drives with me because it always comes up, and I always talk about what a great song it is. The colors, Mr. Melancholy, just all of it, the pink opaque, and just I think it nails just how a lot of us feel when we revisit some nostalgia, and just the birthday scene. I mean, there's every scene.
Yeah,
in the movie.
I would say, like, as far as existential horror goes, the main character has a vocal, public, nervous breakdown that nobody notices, then apologizes to everybody and nobody notices. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not trying to play a sob story or anything, but I've been there. And if you haven't been there, that congratulations, I'm happy for you. But I have, and it is the worst feeling in the world when you're calling out for help and nobody is listening. And then when he's, it's like when he's talking about how he's like, I have a family now. I'm just like, oh God, like I know so many people who have families who are just living that lie. And, then I think of people very close to me in my life who I wish could get the points of this movie. And I know for a fact they did not, because I've talked to them about this movie. So like losing yourself into just entertainment and not having your own identity. There's just so many levels to view this movie on. And I think, without sounding over dramatic, because it's been 5 minutes of me ranting now, I understand. This is a positive Aaron rant, though. This movie's in my 5 favorite of all time. It really is. I've seen it once. I'm not sure if I'll ever see it again. Or I'm sure I will, but it's going to be hard. I mean, it's a movie that just moved me to a level I'd never really felt I've been moved to before with a movie, if I'm being honest. So it's why I talk about it so much and why I will continue to talk about it. It's my number 1 favorite movie of the year and of the decade. Jane Showbright is 2 for 2 for me. I get she's not forever. They're not forever.
We're all going to the World's Fair. I need to revisit. I didn't like it, but I will revisit it. This movie was on mine and Aaron's top 10s, which is why it's up far. But while we're talking about movies that are on mine and Aaron's top 10s, the other movie that tied with it, also on mine and Aaron's top 10, Exuma. I'm gonna let Aaron go first this time, and I'll finish up for Exuma. Go ahead.
Exuma, it's another one that I believe I was the first one to come across this one and bring it to your guys' kind of attention. Maybe I'm wrong on that. You might have been aware of it, but either way, this is just a really well done movie. I really like. I'm just trying to get the director's name, Jang Jin-hun. I really appreciate the direction they use with this movie. It reminds me of I believe it was The Meditation from a few years ago as well. I get it's from the same area, but I really like the ritual and just all of the respect to the culture with regards to how they handle death, with regards to moving the body while it was raining, things like that. And just, it was almost like an existential Ghostbusters team that gets formed here. It's Korean folk horror. I really did like this. I feel like this, it's just a really strange ghost story that goes deeper than necessary, but that works for me. So I've seen it twice. Both times really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is a movie that I did really enjoy also. This is another one of those movies that was probably in the 4-star range for me. And again, I think it's a very creative movie. I think my main problem with this movie is that it kind of overstays its welcome. It's a little too long. But again, I like all of the lore. I like all of the setup. I liked all of the characters and just the build up and tension of all of it. I do think that this is another movie that people really should check out. It's on Shudder.
And Old Boy is great in it. I forgot.
Yes. Exuma kind of gives you two movies because you get like the generational trauma thing at the beginning, and that's the first hour of the movie. And the second hour of the movie is like, it's like Ghostbusters basically, but it's like much scarier. And I think for the same reasons people hated The Exorcist Believer, because it's like a ragtag group of like supernatural Power Rangers, Exuma does it right. Like all these characters are unique and they do bring special things to the team itself. You have like an Undertaker, you have like a mystic, you have like a feng shui expert, and then I forget what the fourth guy does. But they're all important, and they're not just like freaking throwaway characters. Like, oh, we need a Haitian. Like that's not what's going on here. Like they're all very important to the plot. So can't really say enough good things about Exuma. So there's that.
Yeah, and another movie you like Exuma that you should check out that I've mentioned before, The Long Walk. Another one very similar kind of vein with how it's the two movies kind of combined together too.
That's cool. Still got. I think that's on my list I think that's on my Why We Love Horror 2025 challenge or my weekly shuffles. One or the other. I'm gonna watch it. From movies that Aaron and I liked, movies that Abby and I liked. So only on our top tens. Very highly anticipated movie. Had some controversy coming out. Late Night with the Devil. If you rank this movie a half star on Letterboxd because there was like 5 seconds of AI imagery in it, come fucking fight me. Come fucking fight me. You're a fucking piece of shit. Like, come fight me. I'm dead serious. Fight me. Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this was my number one movie for the longest time until one movie that came out in December took that spot. I love this movie so much. This is actually the only movie I've seen twice. And even after seeing it a second time, I'm still like, yep, I love this movie. I think it's very unique. In the way that it's set up, the way that it's filmed. I love the talk show setting. I love the backstory that you get, and I love all of the characters that you see. There's a little bit of humor in it, but then there is also like some scares in it too. If I had to give a negative about this movie, it would be the effects at the ending. But honestly, like I will continue to scream from the rooftop that this is one of the best movies that came out this year. I do care about the AI controversy, but I feel like that's being used in way worse ways in other places, whereas it was 2-3 images in this movie. So again, I think people really need to just put that aside and watch this movie.
And not a reason to like not watch or hate this movie without seeing it. Yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, no, I really did like this movie as well. I feel like because I haven't raved about it, it's like I've been pushed into like, oh, you even like Late Night with the Devil? I do like this movie. I have a bad, I don't like the last third of the movie, the third act as film goers might call it. I didn't like how conventional it got because it really had me kind of going. I feel like it, I guess that's the route they wanted to go. It is what it is. But seeing David Dastmalchian in a like starring role where he really got to show his personality was really enjoyable to watch as well. So I think that he is a leading man. I think at some points people have kind of questioned whether or not he was that. But, I do think this kind of proves it. I'm a found footage lover, so I'm always going to defend that as well. This is a good movie. It just, I think, let me down a little by the end.
That's pretty fair. Late Night with the Devil, I think top to bottom is a great movie. Like Abby said, all the characters are good. I love the skeptic character. He's great. But David Dastmalchian does deserve to be leading man. Him and John Cho should have switched roles and Afraid. Maybe it would have been a worthwhile movie. Who the hell knows? More David Dastmalchian, please. And if you haven't seen Late Night with the Devil yet, and if you should see it, and if the reason why you haven't seen it is because you heard there are still images that were generated by AI. Again, fuck you and fight me. Moving on to our top 3 movies. All 3 of these movies are on all 3 of our top 10. So, and there's a tie for second place. There is a clear winner, but a tie for second place. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, which getting in just under the wire in 2025. All the hype, I feel, justified. Robert Eggers is kind of alone for me in like someone who absolutely gives a shit about every second of film he's doing. Everything has to be perfect. I imagine he's insufferable to work with.
Yes.
But the end product is undeniable. Like everything is great. The performances he gets out of these people are great. It's a beautiful movie. Go ahead. Whoever wants to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is the movie that came out in December that pushed Late Night with the Devil off of the number 1 spot for me. I think, again, it's a well-made movie. It's better made than I think the other movies that I had high up. It's the best made, best acted. I just really loved everything about it, the pacing, the story of it, how it kind of took the Nosferatu story, and then it also had other elements from like the Dracula stories mixed in. Again, I'm not an expert on the old Nosferatu movie, but again, I just thought that this is what you expected when you heard that Robert Eggers was doing a Nosferatu movie. It doesn't disappoint, in my opinion.
Yeah. We waited to do this list for this movie. And man, was it worth the hype. This was a fantastically directed movie by Robert Eggers. I've said this 3 times before. Now I've said it 4 times. He's all 5-star movies for me so far. I don't think I could even rank them. Everybody puts Northman last, but Northman's just not what people wanted. But for what it was, I think he nailed it. And he nails it once again here. I mean, it's just, the castles I thought were real castles, but turns out he built them like from scratch and everything. This was a $50 million budget that looks like it was $500 million to me, with how good it looks and how real it looks. Also, like, Robert Eggers not known for his humor, but it's weaved in here really good, especially with Willem Dafoe's character and some of his lines. I've heard some people be like, "Oh, this isn't sexy enough. It's not sexy enough." It's really a weird critique for me. I'm like, so it's like, the Brave Boys and the Horny Boys are 2 of my favorite groups on film Twitter, because the Brave Boys of how brave they are and not afraid of anything. The Horny Boys are like, I need more sex in this movie. It's not enough sex. Just have more sex in real life. You'll be okay. But I think that it's like very repressed and aggressive. It's not trying to be sexy. I'm so confused by that critique. And then,
they put a naked girl on a horse, Aaron.
Right. I get it. We see some boobs, and they're not sexy enough. But Lily Rose Depp. Speaking of boobs, more than boobs, really, really great actress. She replaced Anya Taylor-Joy for this movie, and I am so glad she did. And I am a huge Anya Taylor-Joy fan. Furiosa was great. I just saw it the other day. Awesome movie. Glad that she stepped out of this role. I don't think she would have poured herself into this the way that Lily Rose Depp did. And it was so good. Like, the movements, you're like, is this like CGI or like what? No, it was all her with a movement coach, but like, that's how good it was. I mean, it's just, and Willem Dafoe, I mean, Ralph Ineson is amazing in his role. I would watch 10 more movies of Ralph Ineson and Willem Dafoe going around and solving different gothic horror stories.
Give us that side quest movie.
Like, seriously, just have those 2 go off. Aaron Taylor Johnson getting no love for his performance in this movie, but he was really great in that whole side story. Orlok's design, I have come around to at this point, and I've accepted it's not for me. But of course, there was a reason he did it, and because there's a reason Robert Eggers does everything. It's always more than just it was cool. This is a culmination of his career up to this point, and I think that it being his most successful, most mainstream movie now. Each movie is getting better and better with regards to the box office. I don't usually care about that, except for when it's my great director who can get more money, and I trust what he does with the money. So whatever he does next, we're all going to be there. Willem Dafoe will be there as well, and we'll see who else makes it. Probably Ralph Ineson.
And speaking of directors on incredible upswings, Longlegs. I think isn't The Monkey our most anticipated movie of 2025? I believe it made it.
I think it is.
That is on the backs of Longlegs. Osgood Perkins. I'll be honest, didn't like The Black Coat's Daughter. So this was like an incredible improvement for me. It was almost like he came out of fucking nowhere with Longlegs, because Longlegs is like incredible. Like, again, you have there's a lot of pieces that help out, like Nick Cage killing it, Micah Monroe always killing it. But honestly, I have to give a ton of credit to Osgood Perkins, because like just the way it's all cobbled together is a phenomenal thing to watch. I think is probably the best thing about Longlegs.
I'll let Abby finish on this one, because she's a bigger Longlegs fan than even me, and I loved it. But Nicolas Cage, my favorite actor, living for sure, maybe of all time. I've seen all of his movies, and this is such a different type of crazy Nick Cage performance. It is crazy. It is insane. In that from the opening scene, you're just absolutely gripped. That opening scene is so memorable. Every time I see that white snow in that house, it just immediately snaps me back into where is he? Because the first time we saw, you just like, I haven't rewatched this movie yet, so I'd be interested to see how a rewatch go, because the first time it was so tense, like just waiting to see him, and it's worth the wait. It's worth the hype. I get that it's not the scariest movie for everybody. Brave boys. I talked to the horny boys earlier. Brave boys, congratulations. You are brave. But, we talked about 90s crime noir with The Soul Eater. This is the movie that I think is going to launch this back in, because we want these movies. We enjoy these movies, and there's so many different routes you can go with it. And I think the way it was handled here was really brilliant. They don't give away a ton of the lore of Longlegs, and that just allows for even more mystery and intrigue to build up. Michael Monroe's great. Blair Underwood's hog is in this movie.
I knew you were going to say it.
I'm telling you, check it out at the end of the movie when he stands up. Mazel tov, Blair. Good Lord, your poor wife. And if Osgood Perkins wasn't purposely putting that in the movie, I would not believe him. So it was on purpose. And I'm the only one who ever has seen it. I have the screenshot. So if you need me to send you the screenshot, it is on my phone. It's huge. A baby's arm holding an apple.
When we saw it in the theater and that moment happened, I just hear Aaron. He's like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "What?"
This was after I saw the TV glow. I should preface that.
He was tuned in.
I mean, it was like a 12-foot dick on the movie screen, probably in real life too. It is so crazy, this outline of his fucking hog in his pants. Sorry.
We're gonna have the Blair Underwood hog appreciation episode of
coming
in
Blair. Shout out, tag Blair Underwood in this clip and send it to him.
I may do that. He'll send you a signed 8x10 of that.
Oh my God, he'll need a 10x10.
We should wait for him to come to a convention. You should print out that thing and have him just sign it.
I will. Just sign across the shaft, sir.
He might do it.
Good for
All right. Without further ado, it's the only movie we haven't talked about.
Well, Abby's got to talk about Longlegs.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah,
I got so sidetracked.
We all get sidetracked.
I thought we were finishing on all the cock talk, but there's more. Abby.
No, I don't have much more to add. I gave 3 movies 5 stars this year, and this was one of them. This, Late Night with the Devil, and Nosferatu were my 3 5 stars. This, I was just so, again, from the opening scene, it's my favorite opening scene that I've seen in like the longest time. And I'm curious to watch this again. I'm going to wait a little bit before I ever rewatch it because I just want some time to pass. But yeah, I can't wait to see more movies like this. I can't wait for The Monkey. It looks like it's going to be a much different tone than this, where it's very like dark and like very serious. Whereas The Monkey looks like there's going to be some humor in it. But no, I loved everything. I loved the real world, but also like the occult satanic stuff that got mixed in with it as well. And again, you can dissect so much in this movie. And I love movies like this where you can just go on YouTube and you can just find essays of people dissecting every little thing, like all the different like religious connections. Like I love that.
I forgot to mention Alicia Witt as the mother to an adult, but playing a college student in Urban Legend. I am officially old as fuck. That being said, our number 1 movie of the year, only movie we didn't talk about, you can figure it out. The Substance coming in at number 1 by a healthy margin, actually, 3 points away from the second place, tied for second place movies. Coralie Farge, we love you.
I do have the picture if we want to show it.
Oh, please, hold on. Throw it back up.
Yeah, so I think this movie is called Longlegs for one reason, and it's for Blair Underwood's long leg.
Yeah, there it is. Jesus Christ. Okay, take that down.
That is undeniably a purposeful shot by Osgood Perkins for this movie. You can't convince me otherwise.
Back to The Substance. This more than just a substance leaking down somebody's leg. It is the substance in question in the movie. I think this deserves to be number 1. I think body horror is back with The Substance. A lot of people will point to like a ton of different directors, a ton of different movies that this is paying homage to. But I think there's so many different movies besides Helter Skelter 2012 that the movie's paying homage to that like it becomes like the best horror stew you'll ever eat. The Substance. Guys, what do you think of The Substance?
Yeah, no, I really really liked this movie a lot. I think the messaging in it is really, I don't know. I think it was a bold message to have. This movie is very much so about Hollywood. And again, with Demi Moore being in it, I thought she was one of the best parts of this movie. She is the best part in this movie. I will continue to root for her in the Oscar campaign if she gets nominated. I know she got awards recognition for like the Golden Globes. And I'm happy that the awards people, like, this is the weird movie that they're going to latch onto this year, because I think it really is deserving. I thought everybody else was really good. Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid, great side, other main characters. And of course the ending, I mean, it really is that insane. Like, it lives up to everything that everybody has been saying. This is everybody's number one movie for a reason.
I would say, like, the ending, it's like you think the movie's ending and you're like, wait, this movie's like longer, isn't it?
Going.
And it just goes forever. It's great. But it's a good goes on forever. Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah. This movie's great. I know that Hugh Grant's getting a lot of the hype for the Oscar of the horror people. It would be really cool if horror just swept the Oscars this year. I know I'm living in a fantasy land, but Hugh Grant deserves the Oscar for best actor. I'd be fine with that. I'm sure there's a couple other people I'd also be good with, but Demi Moore, she needs to have a heavy Oscar campaign for this movie. Seriously, it is such perfect casting. Coralie Farragut is 2 for 2 for me. Revenge was awesome. Just an awesome bare bones movie. And this one is not bare bones at all. The last 30 minutes, it's the craziest 30 minutes I can remember in a movie. This is not to throw shade at Late Night with the Devil. This is the anti-Late Night with the Devil for me. It gets better and better as it goes along. And to just cover the human body one more time for me on the show tonight, I'll cover the female body this time. The prosthetics that Margaret Qualley used really have me just questioning, like, everything.
You can look at my internet search when I'm like, Margaret Qualley breast enhancement ? And like no, you got sucked. I'm like, fuck.
I was just like, oh no, like, she's wearing like a sex doll basically on her entire body, and it looks amazing. With all due respect, Abby, like,
you
it
can't
really
tell.
does. Like,
She does.
Yeah, I mean, and Margaret Qualley is really good in this movie as well. Demi Moore is just that good, though. I'm sorry, this is Demi Moore, like, who, and it's just like the meta level of Demi Moore being the character that they choose to have this be. And I'm not just saying this; she looks so good. She's 61 years old.
61, yeah.
Older
than Christian Slater.
Older than somehow, some way. Like, again, like, this is just bravo. It's such a brave, bold performance, and it's just, I think that when I rewatch this, I'll have just as good of a time with it. I think there's things I didn't pick up. I'm not afraid to say this is Cronenbergian. I've seen some Twitter posts saying, "How dare you say this is?" It is. It is. Relax. It is, and it's many other things as well. And somehow, with it taking, and I don't think it's borrowing, but whatever it's doing, having similar aspects, it doesn't feel like any of those movies. It is so its own thing, which is so hard to do with newer movies at this point. It's like, oh, it's an homage to this, it's homage. It's like with Getaway, where we were so worried about it being a similar to Midsommar, but fine. With this, I was like, is it just going to be kind of a body horror? You are, treat yourself, right type. But it was so much more than that. It looks so good, and it was just like one that I heard hype for going in, but the hype really didn't arrive until people saw this movie. And it's just like, it's unified, like, film Twitter. Everybody loves this movie. You don't have to love horror movies to love this. And if you love horror movies, you love this. It's such like an amazing achievement by her, because that's hard to do with a horror movie, is get everybody on board with it. And this one does, while really being authentic to the bit.
It's the biggest Viva la France moment we're having in a long time. So congratulations to everyone here. That'll do it. That's our top 10. We are going to do probably a special edition of the worst movies. So we'll get that. I'll get that list together. We'll hook that up before you know it.
Yep.
But if you made it this far in the video, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Before, we had mentioned, go to the Facebook Why We Love Horror. But the Why We Love Horror Challenge, the second year, is there on Letterboxd. So go there, check it out, make your list, share your list with us, share your list with your friends, share your list with your relatives. Get in on the conversation. We want to hear about what you're doing this year. Bother any of us with what you're doing, because we love to hear about it. That being said, we're here. Monday is Versus. Thursday, you're watching it. Friday, Why We Love Horror. We try to do Why We Love Horror TV on Sundays, but whatever. Sundays are within a standard deviation Sunday, and we're doing special editions. I think in 2025 we're gonna have more stuff coming. We're gonna brainstorm some new shows for you. We appreciate everybody's patronage coming to the channel so often. I'm JWMaher, and that's Abby Brooks, and that's Aaron Brooks, and this has been Why We Love Horror.